And we are live. Hello, hello, hello. So, also, if y'all want to keep eyes out, people who are watching from any of the live stream Facebook pages or YouTube, it'll show up. Their comments are going to show up right on the side of those boxes right there. Who's that? Hi, come on in. Have a seat. Come on in. Take a seat. Hey, all right. Okay, well, hello and welcome to So Now You're Into Politics. This is the inaugural live stream and meeting of the minds for what will become the Hood Alliance. So I'll tell y'all more about the Hood Alliance at the end because we have been building and have had to take breaks so that we could build some more. And, we get into it. But y'all will see some really cool, important people. But I am your moderator for tonight. I am Haley Hale Morissette, aka Run Like Hell, DJ Hell, the extraordinary and the alchemist. I will toot my own horn all day, but it's what it is. Just kidding, guys, kind of. Um, but so I want to really take time to do a huge shout out to some of our partners that are not only going to be on stream but are in the building with us today, including Outrun Coalition. WPMM, thank you so much for letting us use the space and the radio station. Black Voters Matter, American Humanity Mediation Service, and also Overflow Health Alliance. Who, by the way, if y'all saw the bags when you first came in for our audience, and sorry for those of you who decided not to come in person, you missed out. We do have gift bags for you right outside the door. Okay, I'll send you one, Paula. I got you. All right. So let's see who else is here. So, what we are going to be talking about today is how important it really is for us to be part of civic engagement. And that means running for office. And it doesn't only mean I am the person who's running for office. Maybe I'm the person that's part of the team running for that office. Maybe I'm the person that helps with the talking points, the finances. There are so many parts of the body that are a part of this. And on the flip side, we're also going to talk about issue campaigning just a little bit, and how important it is for us to join in and be a part of things like getting stuff on the ballot here in Florida while we still can, um, and many other things. So, if we want real quick, because I feel like I'm not talking super fast, am I?
If
I
you feel
am.
if you feel you are, just
I'm
take
just
your time.
feeling the energy because this room is really great. I wish y'all could see the amazing people that are in the room with us also, besides the ones you see on camera. We are going to hear from people who have been a part of campaigns, who have ran themselves, people who have already been elected and are in office, and how amazing that is. And then we also are going to have some Q&A. So if you are tuned in, I need you to take 2 seconds. I'm going to give you like 30 seconds. Normally, I would have a DJ board and not do a little icky icky for you, but I ain't got that today. So, what I need you to do is go over to the Life is Hell Facebook page, WPMM Facebook page. I'm pretty sure Outrun probably has already reposted this stream, maybe for sure. Yeah. So, find this live stream, share it, share it, share it. We want everybody to know the information that we have and how this is just, the beginning. Like I said, this is the first of what we will be doing every month for the rest of the summer. We'll call it a little bit of a freedom. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Cool. So we are going to start off, and I think our timing is going really, really well. We're going to start off with an introduction of our panelists. And really, I don't want to do the introduction. I want to give them a chance to do it. But I want to introduce you all to Paulo. Oh, hello. Hold on. Let me add somebody to this stage.
All right, there's Mayor
Hello,
Walker.
hello.
Hello, hello.
And
All
then we're
right.
I'm trying to get a I need a okay, so that worked for you, Mayor Walker? All right, good. Good
Yes,
to see
sir.
you.
Good to see you too.
Let me make sure Anita gets the link. Okay, so I sent it to her. I'm sorry, y'all. But yeah, you wanted me to do the introduction, Hale?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead one more time because we weren't live before when I told you to tell people who you are. Y'all, this is my newest partner in crime. Literally just be, I don't know, raging a little bit in the Facebook group chat and really supported me when I was running for office this last term. So, Paulo, if you can tell everybody who you are, how important your work is, and talk about the panel that you are going to be moderating tonight. Oop, are you up? I just heard you before, so what happened? Wait, say something again. That's that rural area stuff I be telling y'all.
access to the internet.
Outrun coalition.
It's
The
very common.
rural roots. Hey, we are fighting for fiber wires around here or something, okay?
They got the broad. They got that. They got the broadband money. What's up with
You
it?
But again, while we're waiting for Paulo to come back, actually, take a couple of seconds. If you're tuned in right now, I did not take my own advice and share, but I am gonna go to the Life is Hell, HALE, my name, Facebook page. Oh, there's Anita. We're gonna add Anita to the stage first. Hi.
How are you, honey?
Yes, we are getting started. We're waiting on Paulo to join back in with us because the rural really stepped out and was like, "Your internet is not gonna work."
Oh, honey, I know how bad it is. I'm in the woods over here. My God.
See, you know you feel it's it gets bad. It gets bad.
Yeah.
So
Me,
we
me
are
and
just
worse
doing
than
a
the
few.
coyotes without Wi-Fi.
Oh my gosh. Um. mm. And when you have to switch over, you know how it is. Sometimes you gotta switch over to your phone.
All the time. All the time.
I
Too
had to switch to.
much.
I had to switch to my phone. I had to switch to my phone. It
Yeah.
wouldn't do. My computer was not acting right.
It's like this ain't gonna work.
No.
Um,
This-
well, do we have any
Mm.
pre-questions that anybody wants us to think about while we're waiting? We have a really great studio audience here. Oh, there you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. Never mind. I'm not taking his time. I'm adding stage.
and I want to make sure. Can you hear me pretty well?
Yes.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right.
Paulo, it's on you.
I'm really sorry that we were having issues with our different audio systems and stuff. I've never really used StreamYard except for once. So I guess I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Paulo Clemente. I'm the executive director of the Outrun Coalition. Outrun is a collective of over 570 rural. We help rural county Democratic parties use diversity as a candidate recruitment tool to make sure that there are no unopposed elections across rural America. And what that looks like may look different in every state. Sometimes we work with county Democratic parties to make sure that they have candidates for school board and village board and town council and stuff. And sometimes we have to go around county Democratic parties. We have to tell people that you have the right to run for office. Nobody can tell you that you cannot run for office. You are as much capable to be an elected official. And regardless of where you are, nobody can tell you that you are not capable of winning an election just because, people think that national politics affect our local politics. Outrun was founded in 2020 after in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd. Why? When I was a rural caucus chair of the New York State Democratic Party, the local Democratic parties across upstate New York and my hometown and across the regions were not meeting the moment. They were not encouraging people to go protest. They were saying that it was controversial to protest the murder of George Floyd. And the same, and I'm going to say it, the same gerontocracy, the same boomers that said stuff like that are the same people who say well, why can't we find candidates to run for local office? Why can't we get young people involved? Young people don't want to get involved. And that's a total crock of nonsense. It's not true, right? And that's why we bring all of the people here to be able to talk about running for local office. Because if you run for local office and you are able to kind of just get yourself on the ballot, go knock on doors, use van, know what your win number is, there's a 75% chance that you can win your local election, regardless of if your place is as red as Northern Florida or as blue as New York City. These conversations are conversations about our communities and about changing the diversity in the face of what rural America looks like. And that's how I got involved with Hale, and I got involved in our race for state house. And much props to Hale and all the folks in Northern Florida for flipping Escambia County for the first time since 1964, y'all. That's a huge commitment and a good momentum, and it shows that we lead with diversity. We can move forward. But I brought three elected officials with me from across, the Midwest and Northeast and stuff. But they're folks who are kind of like groundbreakers who won elections when they weren't supposed to, and they did it in a way that was dynamic and has brought forth a lot of momentum to go forward. Hale, do you want me to introduce? Do you want me to start introducing them?
Yeah, let's do it. You can introduce them, and
Yeah,
whoever's up first and wants to talk, let's do it.
great. So I'm gonna panel over because I know Mayor Walker. I asked him to go first. If you watched the DNC in this last summer in Chicago, Mayor Walker helped announce the Pennsylvania Democratic delegation votes and has been a groundbreaker in founding the Rural Black Mayors Coalition of Pennsylvania. Mayor Walker has been an inspirational leader in the work that we're doing across rural Pennsylvania to help elect the next generation of Democrats. If you could please give us a few minutes of your time, thank you.
Oh no, thank you, Paulo. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for having me on. I am Dewan Walker from Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, 20, 30 minutes outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm the father of four girls and one boy, two grandkids. Recently married last year. Was fortunate enough and blessed enough to do the DNC. I've been in office for 14 years, four terms. I always say this is not for the faint of heart. Um, but I always say, you got to fix where you rest your head at. And if you got a passion for this thing and if you believe, you can fix where you rest your head at, I think that's important. And don't let nobody tell you you can't. I mean, had a bunch of people telling me that I couldn't. People that looked like me that said it wasn't my time, that I should wait. What started me on this journey of change and being the change I wanted to see was my sister was shot and killed in 2009, and she told me I could be mayor. And I'm an identical twin. And me and my brother both have been in this chair in this office for 14 years, making changes in Aliquippa. No, it's not been easy. But I will tell you this: knocking on doors helped. Introducing yourself to your constituents helps. I still do it to this day. Every 4 years, I get the urge to knock on doors and reintroduce myself. Because again, you might not have done all of what they wanted you to do. And so it's another way to familiarize yourself with your constituents and what their expectations are. Because remember, they can outseed your expectations, but there are expectations that they have, and I think that you need to understand that. Again, when I always say the word "fix where you rest your head at," because again, yeah, I always say the world can care less. You can see in this political climate that the world has changed and it continues to change, and we need people who are not afraid to get in some good trouble. Because if you're not afraid to get in some good trouble, you're going to stand up for where you rest your head at and bring awareness to your environment. Because again, Trump don't know about Aliquippa. He don't know about Western Pennsylvania. He doesn't know about any of these little small towns and rural areas and municipalities and townships and boroughs. He doesn't know, but your House of Representatives, your senator, your commissioners, they know. The voices who have the ear of certain people, they know. So, old folks say that your closed mouth don't get fed. That's exactly right. Don't be afraid. Be unapologetic about what you want. Safe streets, safe schools, whatever you feel is the niche and pushes you to be great, pushes your community to be great, your school to be great. Don't be afraid. Don't let nobody tell you can't. I built a house with the foundation. I built a whole complete house based off what people told me I could not do. And I'm fortunate enough that God has put me among some great people. I mean, some great people that have that I've got to had the ear and sit down and talk to about where I rest my head at Aliquippa, Pennsylvania, and also rural Pennsylvania. Again, you got to understand something that politics is local, and we keep saying that, but yet we keep missing the mark on that, and I don't understand why. And it takes people in these areas to bring awareness to that. So if you're out there in the sound of my voice, and I think it's important, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fix where you rest your head at. Don't be afraid because you know it better than most. Some people say they know it, but they don't. Some people don't put their hands to the plow, but want to be in the office just because they get free tickets to the football game or basketball games and high school and all that stuff. That's what they want to do it for. They're not doing it for the right reasons. You want to do it because you have to make change. We know, and you know, that you're planting seeds that you may never sit underneath the shade of. And you want that tree to be rooted in accountability, transparency, love, understanding, peace of mind. And I think that's important. Because again, that tree that's going to grow is going to be your grandkids, your great grands, the family that you want. And I promise you probably won't see the shade. You won't see the tree, but you have to be unapologetic about your why and never move from that why. Why? What put you here? Why do you want to run? Because that's the first question they ask me. Why do you want to run? What do you think you can do different that they didn't do? And I would say one thing about it: just show up to the fight. Just be present. Be present. Be where you're supposed to be. Do what you're supposed to do. Don't take nothing that isn't yours, and don't hurt nobody. And if you can do that, I made it 14 years. I'm grateful to God that I made it 14 years. But I had good people around me who wasn't afraid to tell me no. Put people around you that are not afraid to tell you no. Don't put people around you that's not afraid to tell you that's not for you. You put people around you that'll tell you when you feeling down, they pour into you because this is a lonely road. Because most people are afraid to put their name on the ballot because, oh, I got skeletons in my closet or all my family ain't in line. Man, you can't pay for anybody else's sins. When you step before your maker, it's just gonna be you, yourself, and I. And you have to deal with what you have. But I'm telling you out there, don't be afraid. Take your chance. Walk out there on faith. Something told you to run. Something put it on your heart to do it. You keep thinking about it. You keep thinking about it. Maybe it ain't my time. You'll never, if you keep thinking it ain't your time, you'll never do anything. You'll never step forward. You'll never see that first step. And all of a sudden the pathway is lit. And all of a sudden that everything you touch starts moving in your favor because you stepped out on faith. But if you keep sitting back thinking it ain't for you, it ain't your time, you'll never do anything. And you'll always say, well, what if I'd have done this? I've never been a what if person. Once I put my hand to the plow, I'm committed. And I will do anything for anyone who is committed to make change the right way, without foolishness, without backstabbing, because I've never hurt any of my opponents who ran against me. And when no need to. You stand on what you do. You stand on what you do, and you knock on doors and you put yourself in front of people who are, they may yell at you, may cuss at you. People on Facebook say something about me, I hit the like button so they know I was there. Then I unlike it, then I come back an hour later, hit it again so they know I saw it. You can't be afraid of that stuff.
Talking about.
You can't be afraid of that. You can't duck. Like I said, the same mouth that may bless you may be the same mouth that curse you. And you still gotta have agape. You still gotta have agape love. You still gotta love them anyhow. Because no matter what, there's always gonna be somebody in need. They may not need you now, but there'll be a time, and you can't little petty arguments and squabbles get in the way of you helping somebody that you know you should help. And that's how I've always been. That's why, I hope when I meet my maker, my sister waiting for me on the other side of the gates, that she said, "You did it, bro." I hope God is saying, "You did it." My goodness, let the works I've done speak for me. I hope that's what's said when the sun sets on my time. But this is only the beginning for me. I've been in there for 14 years, but that's not where it's going to stop. But you have to build a track record of success if your admirations are to move further than this. And again, you have to accept the no's and the yeses, and you have to stand 10 toes down about what you're committed to, and don't hide when the camera gets on you. Oh, you can't run. I'm 6'1", 300 pounds. I can't run fast. I can't hide.
Hey.
So what you see is what you get. I ain't running from nobody. And I'm unapologetic about my city, my town, my why I run, why I do this thing, why it's important to me. And I make sure everybody knows that. I don't want nothing for myself. I've won every award you can possibly win. I've done all you can possibly do. I thank God he put me in places, but I do know this: my work is not done, and I'm a work in progress. And whatever comes my way, I'm gonna put my hand to the plow and make sure it happens for my constituents, my family, my people, and the people that I love and care about. So I hope I, didn't talk too fast and y'all didn't hear me, but that is not why, and that's why you should run. Get out of that way of maybe I should. I'm thinking about it. No, get out of that. If something brought you to this moment where you said I want to run, ride it and find and then get to know your surroundings, who you are. I know the history of my city. I know the history of the towns around me. I studied the project. I studied the population. I noticed in the county I live in, there's 72,000 Democrats, 51,000 Republicans. I know that. But then the last two cycles show that we're Republican, so we're light blue. So you got to understand the landscape of where your surrounding is and what it is needed. And once you understand that, you can move forward. And again, I think the biggest piece is just getting in front of people. Don't be afraid to knock on doors, no matter what they say to you. You can. I knocked on some of my opponents' doors, and they one, they had to respect you, but two, yeah, don't think that door didn't slam behind me. Oh, absolutely it did, but it's okay. At least look, because they gonna tell somebody, you know what that kid did? He knocked on my door. That's what I had the first time I ran in 2012. He knocked on my door. I can't believe he not, but guess what? They put the word out. Oh, he ain't afraid. He's not afraid to do this thing. He's really serious about what he want to do. So my advice to you is don't be afraid. Be committed. Trust the process. Understand God. Get people around you that's gonna pour into you and tell you you wrong and tell you that this ain't for you. No, don't get mad. Don't can't be an angel and the devil. My twin brother's my angel. He said, you can't be an angel and the devil at the same time, brother. Pick one. Can't get mad at everybody. Pick one. Can't do this. You got as long as you got good people around you, man. You make it 14 years or plus. You know, and I think that's important. Just make sure you got those people around you that'll tell you yes and no. And then when you feel down and you feel sad, that's gonna pour into you. And sometimes it may not look like your wife or your husband or significant other. It might be a stranger on the street that'll walk up to you telling you, "Hey, man, keep doing what you're doing." Sometimes God sends you those little nuggets to let you know you're in the right place. So I just say God bless you all. Paulo, I love you, man. I appreciate you giving me every time giving me this opportunity to speak to people's hearts, man, and understand what this thing is about. And I'm grateful for being on this podcast. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mayor Dwan. Like, I keep hearing like have audacity. And I appreciate you saying that. Like, have the audacity to run, have the audacity to stand up and be courageous and just like then you will have the longevity that you need in your area. Like, thank you so much for being on with us and
I
pouring.
thank you.
How do y'all come behind that? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Kind of. Welcome to Life is Hell, you guys.
Right on.
If you're just joining in, you just heard from the obviously incomparable Mayor Dewan Walker. And I'm going to add Paulo back to the
Hi.
stage.
I'm so sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, but okay. So Mayor Walker, you did a good job. All right. Can you guys see me and hear me? Great.
Yes.
All right. The next person I want to invite on stage
Okay. Is it me? Am I the problem?
You're
Am
never the
I
problem.
the drama? No.
Never.
Maybe. Yeah. Look, I think it was like, yes, actually. 100% you. Who was going next? Do y'all know? No?
is
Oh,
Here we go. All
oh,
right.
now he's gone again.
Well, Mason, was it you?
I have no idea.
Well, you know what? We're just gonna wing it because that's what we do over here.
That works.
As young folks and extremely, moved people that want to get involved and do our thing. Sometimes we wing it, like I did for maybe the first part. Oh, wait, hold on. We're gonna try this one more time.
It's all about the pivot.
All
All
about
about
the
the
pivot. Take note. It's on you, boo.
Like that.
Go ahead, Paulo.
I think he's talking. I can't hear him.
We can't hear you now. You gotta learn sign
Can
language.
he hear us? Because he's
Right,
still
can you hear
going.
us? No.
Oh,
Wait,
oh,
there is a mute thing happening.
his mute thing is. Oh, now he's gone again.
Sometimes things happen. It's gonna be okay. So I'm making an executive decision. And Mason, tell us a little bit about
All right,
you.
all right. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Mason Pressler. I'm from Bay City, Michigan. You guys probably haven't heard of Bay City, Michigan. Small town north of uh, Saginaw, which is north of Flint. If you haven't heard of Saginaw, if you haven't heard of Flint, it's north of Detroit. I'm about 2 hour drive from downtown Detroit, so I'm kind of out here. I was elected to school board last year. I ran for a long time, as long as I possibly could. The filing deadline was 21 days after my birthday, so I turned 18. In the state of Michigan, you can only get petition signatures if you're above 18 years old. So I had 22 days to get my signatures in. I got the between 50 and 100 signatures I needed to get on the ballot. I was one of 7 candidates for 3 spots, including all 3 of the incumbents ran again. I was really proud to earn the endorsement of several labor unions, especially our local teachers union, the Bay City Education Association. I had a lot of fun throughout the campaign cycle. It was a very positive experience. Election night was tough. When I learned that I had won, my hard work paid off, but I watched a lot of good friends of mine lose their election, and of course, the national level left us with so many questions, and we're getting some pretty scary answers to those right now. But it really made me look at the local level over the past few years. I started hearing things coming out of our city commission and our school board. I've been paying attention since I was a freshman in high school. And it was when COVID was going on and everybody was engaged and everybody was in it. But as COVID started to die down and the heat of the summer of 2020 was in the rear view and Joe Biden was elected, I think people tuned out a little bit. They said, well, our job's done. We've done the work. Trump's gone, and I think we learned the hard way that the work doesn't stop just because you win one election. So paying attention after that, I go to the school board meetings, I go to the city commission meetings, and I realized, like, obviously I wanted to run for school board because I thought my perspective as a student was very valuable. One of the school board members that I ran against, I didn't run a negative campaign, but one of the reasons I ran was because he'd made some racist comments and he decided to run for re-election after he'd been protested. The NAACP, even the Chamber of Commerce here, called for his resignation, and he decided to run again. I only ended up beating him by 600 votes, and I spent $10,000. I knocked thousands of doors. I raised a lot of money, mostly from small dollar donations. And if I hadn't put that work in, we would have had 6 more years of this guy in the school board, in a district where we had one of our high schools made international news for flying, students were flying Confederate flags which I'm sure is pretty common in Florida, in rural Florida especially, but in northern Michigan, it didn't make any sense at all. And we had high school students that were doing this. And having somebody on the school board with a track record like that was extremely concerning when we had these issues. And we had students in the district that received threats. I was a freshman in high school receiving death threats for being gay. I'm also the first openly LGBTQ school board member elected in this district. It's a district that Trump won. I come from a county that voted for Obama twice and then turned around and votes for Trump 3 times. I looking at it that way, I mean, my hometown, the city of Bay City, voted for Harris, but the county itself and the school district voted for Trump. It's a very interesting dynamic. We have a very urban school and then a very rural school. And understanding that community was a challenge. And kind of going out of my comfort zone and talking to voters that you wouldn't necessarily have those conversations with, or normally wouldn't be open to voting for a Democrat. So it was a very interesting experience, and I think it was very valuable to hear from people in the community. And people were very excited to see somebody who was out willing to knock doors for school board. I had a lot of people tell me, I've never had a school board candidate knock on my door in all these years. Of course I'm going to vote for you. So putting in that work, I just learned how important that was. Like I said, Obama won this county, but despite that, the county Democratic Party did not support him in 2008. And in 2012, it was rough as well. My grandparents actually really helped with the Obama campaign. And the local Democratic Party had so many racist elements in it that by the end of the campaign, the Obama campaign gave my grandparents all the stuff that they had because they didn't have a good relationship with the local Democratic Party, and all that infrastructure got lost because, the local party wasn't willing to change. So, that was one of the things that you get told when you run for an office this young, or even when you're not, that you need to wait your turn, and they're not ready for
Mhm.
you. But turning around, putting the work in, like that's what matters. If you're gonna do that, just don't let anybody stop you and tell you that you can't do something because of some preconceived idea they have about you. And they're not gonna vote for this kid. Well, they did, and a lot of people were proved wrong by that. I had people posting some pretty vile things on Facebook about me, and at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Facebook doesn't vote. I think that's something that we could all learn a little bit more. I think it
Ooh,
tends to get
that's a
heated.
word. That's a
Um,
word. Facebook doesn't vote.
yup,
Hold
yup.
on
So
a
I
second.
mean, we recently had a big dispute, and this is why I've been involved with some of the city council stuff, and I made it my personal goal a couple years ago to get some more progressive people on the city council. We had a lot of Democrats in the city council, but like I explained, just being a Democrat didn't mean everything, and it still doesn't. You got to put the work in too. So I really made an effort, and got to the point. My grandpa's 70 about to be 70 years old, and he decided to run. He's partially retired now, and he said, I've been political my whole life, but I've never, really gotten involved and tried to make a difference. So he said, well, it's not too late, and he was our one of 5 people that voted against deputizing our police, allowing ICE to deputize our police. And the mayor ended up vetoing that resolution. Even though it passed the city commission a few years ago, that would have never passed our city commission. It was a fight, but we did it, and it really mattered to have people on that council. And we're moving things, and there was a story that my grandpa didn't tell while he was up speaking about the resolution, that really struck me. And my uncle is a Rwandan refugee who came here with a lot of his family, and his family was here in town. And they were in the city council district that my grandpa represents. And this was a few years back, and they speak with a lot of his siblings. His parents have really thick accents, and there were some people that were messing with them at the bar district, and from my grandpa had to get in between and say, hey, that's not okay. But it was that moment, among others, that made him realize, like, hey, just because this city is a Democratic city, just because we elect Democrats in office, it doesn't mean that hate isn't still there. And we need to take a stand here at the local level. So that was something that rang through his head. And my aunt doesn't live here. My aunt and uncle don't live here because they don't feel welcome here. And that was something that both me and my grandpa running for office really took into consideration, wanting to change this community. I have so many friends that I graduated with last year who don't want to live here, and they see this community declining. And while I know that a majority of people here are not hateful people, the hateful people are loud. So confronting that is something that is so important, especially at the local level. And we've seen it with these town halls across the country. We've seen it in city council meetings and school board meetings. Showing up is half the battle, and we really need to do that right now, with everything. And I think Democrats could learn from that big time. So I've learned a lot over the past few months being on the school board. We hired a new superintendent. That was the first thing we did as a board. That was a very overwhelming process, but I've learned so much. And if I want to leave everybody with one thing, is you can run for office. Don't let people tell you that you can't do something just based on some preconception that they have about you. Don't let them tell you that you can't do something when you can. I think that anybody can run for office. I realized that pretty early. I was looking at some of the people on the city council, and I said they got in unopposed. And people so often don't have a choice. My grandpa got in unopposed, but there were 2 people that they tried to run against him, and he went out with his cane, knocked the doors, got the signatures, and the other people didn't. And you just needed 50 signatures to get on the ballot. So it really is just showing up and doing the right thing. I think that people respect that, whether they always agree with you or not. don't be a yes man. Just because it's easy doesn't mean that's what you should be doing. And I think that in this day and age, people respect real. People want real. So I don't think it always matters what the letter is next to your name. If you stand up for what's right, I think that's what we need right now, because there's a lot of things happening, and there's a lot of people that are just taking it, and we can't just take it right now. We can't sit back and stand by and say, oh, this is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. And that's exactly why we need to show up, especially at the local level. So if that's the one thing I leave you guys with, it's you can do this, and you need to do this right now. And most of the time you'll get in unopposed. These local seats, they go uncontested. Sometimes a write-in gets on. The guy who had accusations of racist comments that he made and was protested, I beat him by 600 votes, but he got on last time as a write-in because nobody else filed. And I think just paying attention to the local stuff, sometimes we get so caught up in how crazy it is at the national level and how overwhelming it is at the national level, and we freeze because it's so overwhelming, and we don't have power to affect that. You do have power to affect your city council. I've done it. I called up city council member, and it doesn't always matter. They'll listen to you. My mom gave a really emotional testimony at that city council meeting, and the wife of the chair of our county Democratic Party, she sits in the city council, and she was on her phone laughing while my mom's borderline crying up there. But you know what? I had a great conversation with her husband afterwards about how I didn't appreciate that. And, moving forward, I think we need to have hard discussions. Just because something's difficult doesn't mean that we shouldn't talk about it. Or we shouldn't have that discussion. I think it means that we should. I think those difficult conversations are what have to happen right now, because we're at a real turning point for this country. And that local level involvement, seeing these people turn up to town halls and call out their representatives. I think that there's so much value in that, and in this moment, that's what we have to be doing. So, thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much for being on, and wow, dynamic, because you've broken so many barriers in your area. And okay, here we go. Follow, you here?
I'm here. Yeah. Was that? I don't see Travis. Did they go already or?
Hold on. There we go.
Okay. Are we good?
Okay,
Okay.
so
I'm so. All right. I feel you all look really beautiful. I'm very happy that we are all able to get on. I'm this awkward when we do our presentations because it makes people laugh, but it's also the reality of the fact that if I can be, I to kind of go back to the point that we're talking about, like, coming, you don't have to be some sort of genius to be a campaign operative, right? Half of the people that are going to tell you not to run for office or that you can't win because you don't have experience, they're going to tell you don't have experience. And in my time in working in politics for the last 16 years, it has always been older white Democratic elected officials and political officials telling young women, people of color, LGBTQ plus folks, and immigrants and whomever to not run for office. If I could share one piece of advice before we go forward and I introduce the amazing Anita Buffum, one of the greatest drag performers that I've ever met, an amazing school board member, is every single time somebody tells you you can't run for office because you don't have the experience, what you do is you ask them if they know how to calculate a win number. 95% of the time, your detractors will not know what that is. And
come
when you do
on.
that in a crowd, I did this at the Chemung County Democratic Party meeting a few weeks ago. They tried to tell me that they were going to put out a statement about me. And so then I told them, okay, then I won't try and bring a national level surrogate to the county and you won't have a big town hall. Flex your power. Our power and our ability to move forward is based on the fact that we can get Mason, Dwan, and whomever, and Anita and whomever on these panels, and also make sure that we have these real conversations. Because at the end of the day, and I can tell you this as somebody who's worked in New York my whole life, right? Whether in New York City or in DC or have the reality of political power is not it's a facade. It's not really real unless you're really able to see what happens. Randy Fine almost went down like a stack of bricks in that special election, and so did Gabe Alamont's opponent. Right? You guys flipped the Scambria County. our ability to connect with voters comes from the fact that we actually have to explain who we are to people who don't understand us. And that's what makes us great elected officials, and that's what makes us great advocates. And with that in mind, I'd love to introduce Anita Buffum. She's the first drag performer in the nation to be elected to a school board, and the first drag performer, I think, in the Western, I don't know, like something along the lines of in the United States to be elected to a school board or any sort of municipal body at this level. She's from Casanova, New York. She won in a place that Donald Trump won, and they're amazing. And they have done so much work to make sure that books aren't banned and that we have conversations around racial justice and school funding and stuff. And so, Anita, if you don't mind taking it away.
Hiya, guys. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. I'm so excited to be here, you guys. I did not know that Pensacola was an arrow behind me. And so that led to a lot of confusion for me, honey. But Paulo set me straight. Excuse the pun, set me straight, and we're all here, so that's good. So I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much to Paolo and Outrun, and thank you to you guys for having me. This is amazing to be here with Dwan and Mason. And, I echo a lot of the things that they were saying. I think even if you don't have a passion for this, but you have an inkling of like, I think I might be good at that, like show up. I find that half the battle is just showing up. I'm trying to think of things that were key for me in my area that I believe really helped me get elected to the school board. And then above and beyond that, so many people recommending running for other village, town, larger positions. And I think the thing that works for me is I truly believe that everyone needs a seat at the table, because that's the only way we can evolve and learn. I can tell somebody all day who I am and what I'm about, but unless we have an experience together, I don't think people really get it. And they have all these preconceived ideas of who LGBTQ people are, who drag queens are, who disabled people are. And I want everyone at my table so that we can all learn, right? And learn from each other. I invited everybody to come sit down at my table with me when I was running. And I also had a pretty eventful campaign in the last 6 days. A write-in candidate announced he was running. And that brought about a lot of really ugly things. But the flip side to that is all the people that I had spoken with, all the people that had sat at my table in the past, saw those things, got those phone calls saying, we can't let this trans win. And I'm not trans. I could not know what it, I do not know what it feels like to be trans, but they were saying things, keywords, dog whistle things to get people scared of me. And the people that had sat at my table were like, you know what? That's not how I know this person to be. And if you could take a few minutes to sit down with them and learn more about them, I think you would understand why you should vote for them. We had one of the largest turnouts for the school board election maybe ever. And that was really amazing because we saw an energy from a conservative community supporting a good human being, right? And they saw the dehumanization that was coming from a hateful group or a scared group of people. So my recommendation is, yeah, knock on everyone's door. I like to use the tactic of not ever pointing a finger or accusing anyone of something or telling someone they're wrong, because when you do that, their walls go right up. So I like to do the majority of listening, right, and asking questions. What's important to you? What do you know about me already? Like, are there things that you think you know about me that are not true, so I can fix that? But what was funny was that while I was inviting everyone to the table during the campaign, none of them showed up. And it was all people who I had a lot of people come to me and say, I heard what people have been saying about you and I don't like it. I want to vote for you. Tell me how you feel about X, Y, and Z. Do you think you're fiscally responsible, or do you think we should spend whatever we need to spend on the district? So having conversations was really, really, really helpful. Um, I think being authentic, being transparent, even when it makes me maybe not look the most put together, is also appreciated. I think a lot of people are tired of seeing the same old, inauthentic, non relatable type person in these positions, because we want to be able to relate to our leaders. We want to be able to feel like, oh, they get me, they understand where I'm coming from. And so I would do things like go live on my social media from my couch in a tank top, right? Like, I've had an exhausted day. I own a business here in town, and it's an exhausting day, but I just want to talk to you guys about some things, right? I look like a mess, but who cares, And I think that those things go a long way. Or you're talking and you get caught up in something and lose track of what you're saying. That happens to me a lot because I'm ADHD and and neurodivergent. So I'm looking at everything all around, and then I get distracted. And I was asked to present at a like meet the candidates night, and I shared that. I was like, listen, I'm excited to talk to you guys, and we could go from point A to point Y to point B and back again. That may seem like no reason, but I'm here to answer your questions. I'm here to introduce myself. Yeah, I have ADHD. Yes, I am neurodivergent. Yes, I'm part of the LGBTQ community. Yes, I'm a drag queen. No, I'm not going to dress in drag to go to school board meetings. there's there If she's not getting paid, she's not showing up. Not that I'm being paid here tonight, but you know what I'm saying.
We ain't got that money.
Right. So yeah, I think it's really important to be authentic, be transparent, especially in my position now, being on the board. um, I and I need to say, I should have said this from the beginning. I'm here as a community member, not a board member. Not speaking for the board. I'm here for myself. Um, uh, and I've learned that transparency within working on the board is very important, because I think sometimes people think like you're conniving and you're trying to pull one over on each other and trying to get your one issue across. And I don't play that. So I'm like very straightforward in a kind way of like, what do you mean by that? What are you saying? Or, hey, I haven't heard from you on XYZ. Feels kind of funny. What's up? So transparency is something that at the Meet the Candidates night I talked about, is that I am a very, again, I think because of ADHD, I am sometimes to a fault authentic and open, and sometimes say some things where I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have said that. But I'm human, and I think people gravitate towards that. I can pretend to be perfect, but that's not true. I'm not perfect. And I try very hard and admit that I have a lot of learning to do. That was a big thing too, is that before I was elected, I started learning. What does it mean to be on the board? And I learned right away, oh, all the things that I think it is, it's not. So that was eye opening. And telling our voters, like, hey, I have a lot to learn. If they ask me a question and I didn't know the answer, I was like, listen, I'm learning. I'm excited to learn. I'm eager to learn. I've learned a lot already, and I'm continuing to learn. So yeah, I would say be authentic. Invite everybody to your table, even if you don't agree with them or you think they're the most terrible person in the world. Sit down with them, have conversation, and I would bet the people you're most concerned about or most insecure about sitting down at your table don't even show up. Get out there and do it. Sometimes it's not about the end goal, but it's about the journey and the things you learn on the way that you can then contribute to your community in another way. So I say do it. Show up. It's half the battle. All you have to do is show up. I'm so thrilled to be here. I'm happy to answer any questions. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me see. What do I have to press to put this back with everybody? There we go. All right. Paulo, you have any closing remarks from your panel before we move on to our guests that are here that have worked on campaigns and such?
Just the thing that I think that we're at a moment that really matters in the context of the work that we're doing, where our true authentic selves are outrunning the top of the ticket in the Democratic Party at all levels because the Democratic Party needs a new face. And that's who we are, right? And I know that I was told to not make it part. I don't know if this was a partisan event. Sorry, I apologize, Hale, if it's not. But if it is, I'm going to put my hat on and say, um, nobody is going to save our ability to win elections except for ourselves. And nobody is going to make democracy work for rural communities or Northern Florida or at places that are not, Democratic leaning except for ourselves. And the best way that we can change dynamics is to do what Anita, Mason, and Dawn have done, which is overcome the odds, do the work to be able to run and win, right? Because I'll guarantee you this: you're going to be at the doors where your opponents will not be because they've been told they shouldn't have to go.
Mm-hmm.
In many ways, running for office in our communities is both a blessing and a disadvantage because it's sometimes difficult for Democrats to do so. But here's the other thing that happens: for every single horrible interaction, every single loudmouth person that people who tell me to go back to my country because I'm an immigrant or whatever, for every single person that says that, there are 10 or 15 people that you can talk to that are the Masons, the Dwallants, the Anitas, and what have you, and the Hales of the world in these communities. And so we need to concentrate on engaging them. If people in the Democratic Party want to concentrate on engaging with the most conservative Trump supporter or think that Liz Cheney is going to be the path of the future for the Democratic Party, it's not. Because every 4 weeks we're having elections across the country, and every 4 weeks young, diverse candidates are running and winning across rural communities. We just picked up 8 seats across rural Missouri. There are no Mom for Liberty school board members in the St. Louis metro area as of last week. That happened not because we, adhered to some sort of middle or became some left or something. It's because we told people, be yourself, and being yourself is enough to be able to run for office. And running for office is about making sure that you feel comfortable in your community to advocate for itself. And I think with that, I'm going to stop talking. We are the Outrun Coalition. We do this for free. It's a volunteer work that we do. We've grown exponentially since 2020. We were 5 elected officials in 2020. We're now 573, and hopefully by the start of the 2028 cycle, we'd like to get up to 1,000. But we work with rural county Democratic parties and progressive organizations to make sure that you have candidates for local office and that they win, and that they win in a way that's truthful and meaningful, and not just convinces Democrats that we're capable of winning, but scares the crap out of the Republican Party too. And so, thank you. And Hale, I'm going to stick around for the Q&A. I'm sure other folks, I don't know if they can, but
Yes,
I will. Okay. And let me just take a picture right now.
absolutely. Okay.
Okay. Oh, I am so bad at this. Sorry.
Oh, everybody to pose and stop. Yeah, I'm terrible. Hey, real quick while we're doing that, make sure if you're tuning in that you're sharing this stream because it is exciting. And also, if you have questions that we're going to come around to for our Q&A, please drop it in that comment box. No matter if you're on YouTube or one of those Facebooks that we're streaming to, you just put in the comments. It's going to come up for us, and we're going to talk about it at this Q&A portion right after we get on with this other group of panelists. Paulo, you ready to take this picture? Did you take it?
Could someone else do it? I'm sorry. Okay, now it took. Yeah, we're fine. We're fine. We're good.
Okay.
Thank you. I apologize. All right. Thank you. All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everybody. So as y'all can see, I'm gonna see if this is gonna work for me the way I want it to. No, it doesn't, but it's all good. So as y'all can see, we have absolutely are able to have our power wherever we want to have it. And so it's really important that we are moving and shaking. And if you're thinking about running for office, tonight's the night to make the decision. Soft launch. I sent my paperwork in, but I won't
Hey.
tell y'all what for.
Dun, dun, dun.
Y'all already know. So let's all run together, baby. That's what we doing. So with that being said, we're gonna move on, and I really want this to be more of a conversation with some of my absolute comrades, my family, my partners in the struggle. We have Jay Garrett Green,
Greetings.
Clarissa Schumo,
Salutations.
and Jamil Davis.
Sup?
All right, y'all get
Hey.
1 minute and 10 seconds to tell the people who you are, starting with Jay Garrett Green.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, my name is Jonathan Green, and I serve as the Chief Strategy Officer and Lead Mediator for the American Humanity Mediation Service. And I have previously run for Mayor of Pensacola, Florida, as well as District 1, the special election that just occurred in Northwest Florida, as write-in candidate, then endorsing the Democratic once I withdrew. I have my law degree from Southern University Law Center, my Master's of Science in Criminal Justice from Troy University, my Bachelor of Arts in uh, uh, Criminal Justice from the University of South Alabama. I used to work for the New Jersey Office of the Attorney General, where I developed a pilot national model called the New Jersey Community Peacemaker Collaborative, where we focus on nonpartisan, just community engagement for de-escalation and peace building, to have dialogue circles, safe spaces for courageous conversations. Uh, from there, I came back south, born and raised from Pensacola, Florida, Pensacola in the house. I worked for Southern Poverty Law Center up until last summer, then went more into private practice and humanity mediation, but also working how I do with AHMS. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the minute.
You're welcome. And so we are. Ooh, does this work like this? Oh, no, okay, I'm just playing with things because I'm learning. JD is gonna kill me. And I know he's listening. So I'll hear about it later. Clarissa, 1 minute, 10 seconds. Let's go.
Woo, that's challenging, but I'll start here. Right after graduating from Florida A&M University, or I'm sorry, Florida Agricultural Mechanical University, I moved to DC. I worked on Capitol Hill, 3 different members of Congress, moved back to Pensacola where I grew up once I started my family. Got back into the game of politics, and I have been a field director. I've been a campaign manager. I am a political strategist um, for various offices from Charlie Crist's campaign to County Commissioner May's campaign. I worked on President Obama's campaign as well, and most recently Valmont's campaign, and now I am the field director, one of the site directors for the ballot initiative for expanding Medicaid, getting that on the ballot for next year. My why is when I wake up in the morning, I want to make a difference. And I believe in that. And I think it is important. Hit on it earlier about um, there are going to be things that you do, you're not going to see it in your time. And that's something you've got to come to grips with out here doing this type of work because we're planting seeds that we will not see grow, but we'll plant them, we'll be able to water some, and it will come up. And it is about having a vision and preparing the next generation so that it is watered and it does grow and it does come up. I'll do my
Okay.
best.
You did that. You did that. I really wasn't timing, but I'm gonna time you because I'm a little harder on you.
Wow.
Jamil Davis, who are you? Tell us about yourself.
And this is normally how it is. I'm Jamil Davis. I am the North Florida lead regional organizer for Black Voters Matter. We are an organization that serves in 28 plus states across the country, in voter engagement, legislative advocacy, and capacity building. Just to give a quick example, we had a lot of great times here in the Panhandle during the CD1 special election. Shout out to Life is Hell, as well as American Humanity Mediation Services for being our partners on the ground, doing lots of awesome, great work to make sure that we drive the Black vote really, really hard and really, really constant to make sure that we flipped Escambia County. So I mean that was a great thing. I lived here for a nice long period of time. I now reside in the great city of Jacksonville, or as the locals like to tell me I need to do it. That part. That it's in the city charter. That's how you're supposed to say it. That's why I get told. Also, shout out to Travis Hunter. He's now a Jacksonville Jaguar.
Oh,
So
hey.
yeah, that's the thing. You know, that's the thing.
Okay.
That's the thing. I'm so excited. I'm also a part of one of the greatest hosting teams for a podcast that covers Black politics and Black culture for the entire state of Florida. It's called BLKFLA, the podcast. I am a host along with,
DJ Hell.
as well as State Representative Angie Nixon
Mhm.
and Natasha Sutherland, who is the Deputy Director for Florida Watch. Why am I saying all this? Because all of these things are very key to what we do as far as organizing work here on the ground. We make sure that we're able to be the ones to control the narrative around what does it take for us to build strong and accurate Black political and organizing power, not just in Escambia County, but across the state of Florida. Up until this year, I did actually serve as the Florida State Organizing Manager for Black Voters Matter. So I covered the entire state of Florida as far as building out Black political and organizing power. And all of this stemmed from a 2018, no, I'm sorry, 2019 campaign that happened right here in Pensacola, Florida, when on July 5th of 2019, a young Black man by the name of Tamar Crawford was murdered by an officer of the Pensacola Police Department. And so myself, Hill Morissette, and my lovely, lovely best friend, who is also the mother of my 5-year-old daughter, Aisha Williams, literally sat in Hell's Kitchen.
In
Um,
Hell's Kitchen.
listen, that's what we call it, Hell's Kitchen, and cooked up this incredible campaign that culminated on June 6th of 2020, where we took over the Chappie James Bridge, stood on that bridge for 35 to 40 minutes until they gave us a civilian oversight committee. We are The city of Pensacola is one of only 13 cities in the entire state of Florida that has ever had a civilian oversight committee. Jacksonville, Florida is still trying to fight to get an actual committee of that sort right now. And they are the largest city in the congruent United States of America, and they've never had one. And Pensacola has. So that is something that should drive each and every person in this room to know and understand that the west end of North Florida is the ones that's really building out this power to show you all what Black political and organizing power looks like. That's my TED talk.
All right. But that gets us right into it. So, as you just heard, like I said, this is the reason why these are my partners in crime, my get to it folks. When I decided to run, these were the first people that I decided to talk to about it, including someone who is in the building, and not on camera right now, though. Two people that are in the building. First, I really got to shout out Derek Scott,
Boom, boom,
a
boom.
chair for the Escambia Democratic Party. Amazing. Really had my back. And also Dondre Wise, who usually holds and takes over the Life is Hell momentum, but is right now running for State House District 3 in the special election.
Boom, boom,
So
boom.
what do? As Paul say, we outrun, baby. We're doing this. We're knocking the doors. We're doing the things. So now I've had my shout outs. Let's talk business. I want to talk about issue campaigns because all of us are very much have been a part of an issue campaign. Anybody want to jump in and talk about the importance of
I would love to because I think between the graffiti bridge block,
Mhm.
that's a very important issue campaign. That how the police advisory committee was established from that, the people power of that brought forth a committee that both Hale served on and I served on. And then I was elected, I ran unopposed as to be the co-chair. Everyone ran for chair. The, don't even nominate me. I would like to be co-chair. I nominate myself for co-chair. Understand the strategy, but what does that do? That holds the politicians who had to nominate the city council persons who nominated persons for the mayor to affirm. Now we're going to come up with this diverse committee. Oh, I don't know if I can say that in public anymore, but we have this committee made up of different people, you know, and everyone gets to contribute to the idea, the pool of thought. So that's how we hold our pot. So the work of election day is election day. The day after election day is for 4 years later, 2 years later, that if that moment of election day ends, the next day is when the real work begins to hold the local leaders accountable because they represent you to the leaders in Tallahassee, to the leaders in your capital, to the leaders in the nation's capital. That's how our representative democracy operates.
Right.
So understanding that we know that, but if we're not holding that account, right?
And so I also want to be very clear about we got to how we got to June 6th,
Yes.
2020.
Right.
So getting to June 6th, 2020 what um takes an initiative that we did through an organization that's based out of the state of Florida known as Dream Defenders. We were doing these things called Freedom Sessions. Freedom Sessions was basically just,
House meetings.
kick back at the
Yeah,
crib,
kick off.
and then we go over the Freedom Papers, which was a document that the Dream Defenders had written that had various freedoms that we wanted to see be enacted in the state of Florida and essentially in the country. Um, Me and Hill's favorite question all the time was from the freedom to be, which is if money was never an issue, what would you be?
Yeah.
Who would you be? Money was never an issue. And so from there, we were able to touch on an initiative that's known as Divest Invest, which many other organizations took that, made a bigger strategy around it, and it became defund the police. Because that's literally all that divest invest is: divesting money from police police departments across the country and investing it into initiatives and systems that are already in place in your communities that can receive more funding. So we were having these conversations. Hell was really good at this. We was having these conversations with the bros on the corner.
Yeah, my people.
You know what I'm saying? The street kings, if you will. And we got them, like, no hyperbole, no cap, as kids like to say. We literally got them on board to really be a part of a movement that they could see themselves really being in. They could see themselves being like, hey, so Pensacola Police Department, y'all keep giving Pensacola city government, y'all keep giving the police department onwards of 35 to $50 million a year. And that budget keeps going up every year. But we have various community centers and we have various schools in Pensacola, Florida that are suffering from dilapidated walls, roofs caving in, the programs having to be cut because it doesn't have proper funding. Y'all can take this $50 million and y'all can put it into some of this. And we were actually having people that other organizations within this city and within this county look down upon go with us to city council meetings and do public comment at People you would never think would do public comment at city council meetings was doing public comment at city council meetings. This was a whole thing that we were moving along, and one of the demands that we sat and wrote out and we introduced to the family is a list of demands. The family was like, "Oh no, these are great because these are the things that we want as well." One of the list of demands was the institution of a civilian oversight committee.
Mhm.
We were we were addressing that before it became the cool cute thing to do in the state for real, and also before it became a situation where a whole bill was written last year for the dismantling of civilian oversight committees in the state of Florida. And so we do all of this. We get to 2020. We stand on the bridge. It gives the civilian oversight committee. But also at the same time, while we're on the bridge in Pensacola, same day, June 6, 2020, while we're on the bridge, 50,000 people in Jacksonville are marching through the streets of Jacksonville for the exact same reason we're on the bridge in Pensacola. And so in 2021, the state legislature once again turns around and writes this bill out that states if if there are 15 or more people at a protest and something goes down at the protest, you can face up to 25 years in prison. You don't even have to be the person to actually do the thing that caused the ruckus at the protest. And they wrote this bill literally because of what we did in Pensacola and what Jacksonville Community Action Committee and other organizations did literally because of this act of civil defiance. And then turns around a Juneteenth event that was going on in Pensacola. The flyer was used in the trial because various organizations sued the governor and sued the state legislature once the bill got passed. A flyer for a Juneteenth event that was happening here in Pensacola was used in the lawsuit. The judge looks at it and says, "Oh no, this is what organizers have been saying for the longest as to why we shouldn't have this. We shouldn't have this law in place in the first place because y'all are going to use a simple Juneteenth event as a way to say that there was an uprising that happened at a protest. Like if a fight would have broken out at that Juneteenth event, they're going to use that and say, "Oh, aggravated rioting, everybody getting 25 years."
Mhm.
So the Juneteenth event in Pensacola is what dismantled the actual bill. These are all things that we, in some way, directly or indirectly, were a part of. And we were a part of dismantling state systems of oppression. That's the main thing that we need to get clear in our we're a part of dismantling state systems of oppression because that's an oppressive bill. Voter suppression bills are state systems of oppression. And so we are in a great place to where now a Hill Morissette can run for State House District 1 in 2024. Dondre Rice can run for State House District 3 in 2025. We are we are the ones that are now causing the change of pulling in young people in the next generation to want to be able to run for office. But it all starts with making sure that we make sure that the issues that are important to them are what's high priority. I don't come in and tell you this is who you should vote for. I tell you what are the issues. What I ask you, what are the issues that are important to you, and whatever those issues are that are important to you, find the person that's going to advocate for those issues and go in and vote for that person.
Yep. Which Ooh, so much and some chills because yeah, we've been out on these blocks, on these corners.
For a minute.
I'm good on every MLK Boulevard, I promise you that. But no, seriously. Clarissa is currently working on Medicaid expansion as a field director in that way. Can you tell us a little bit about that and being a part of the team of people that's pushing that ballot initiative?
Well, piggybacking on what he was just talking about, it's so important we pay attention because HB 1205 that just passed to put more restrictions on being able to put things on the ballot. And part of the reason for this even happening was just how close the abortion and legalizing cannabis came.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are things we really need to be aware of. So now what's going to happen where you had 30 days to get ballots in, you have 10. You have to be a Florida resident to actually even touch the petition. So if you live in Georgia, you can't come help,
Yeah.
and there are people that have actually gone to jail over these petitions and where it was a $50 um, flat rate for flat fee for a late petition. It's now $50 per day, up to $2,500, and the validity rate has changed. It's 90%, as well as duplicates. You're fined for duplicate petitions. Now, here's what's scary about that. If you've signed, the voter could actually also be penalized for it. But there's a lot of petitions going around. You may not remember that you signed it, or you think you signed it, at a later time. So, but basically, what the initiative is about, it's to expand Medicaid. It's to get the money that we already spend in our taxes
Mm-hmm.
that is currently going to other states. We want it to come here, so that adults between 18 and 65 can have health care, because currently there's 1.4 million Floridians that do not that's not eligible. So a family of three, if you're making $34,000, which is already no money, right now you're currently not eligible, but you would become eligible once the expansion would happen. So right now it's like $7,500. And this has all been since the Affordable Care Act. So we know why they don't want the money to come in. But no one's really against this, Republican or Democrat. You know, it's uh it's very political for the reason for it not having the expansion. So there's no cons in this.
Right.
This is money already out there. It would bring the federal funding to I believe it's 90%.
Right. Okay. That's really healthcare is such a big deal to me and it's super important and I mean everything about it.
So one other
Okay.
so we just recently had a shooting at Florida
Yep.
State.
Mm-hmm.
After my first thoughts of making sure, the babies that I know are fine, which I actually got to hold on tight to one on Sunday who was actually in the student union when that happened. Um, it's quite possible those six, with what the odds are. I think it's between the ages of 19 and 25. It's like 30, 32, 34% that don't have healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
So it's quite possible all six, but just going by the ratio, what would be four of the six most likely don't have healthcare. So now, where they're in school to better themselves, they now have hundreds and thousands of dollars of medical bills. That should not be.
And
Wow.
even more so to support what you both are discussing. The story that's very recent about Governor DeSantis and the 67 million. This is why local politics is important.
Come on now.
So the $67 million
See, I wanna-
that Medicaid
Mhm.
Centene was overcharging and had the $67 million settlement. $10 million went dark, and the Governor DeSantis diverted it to his wife's charity, and then it went dark again to be able to fund PACs that supported the abortion petitions, and every conservative agenda item that they could no longer trace because the organizations it went to didn't have reporting mechanisms because of how they received the money.
That's what I was telling you about earlier, Michael.
And it's going up now.
So let's break it down into real detail. The leading Medicaid provider in the country overcharged us $67 million. The state sued them, and the provider was like, "You know what? Y'all right. Here y'all money." DeSantis and his wife was like, "Oh no, we're gonna take $10 million of that money, and we're gonna drop it in your charity."
No, that's called. It's not. We're gonna embezzle.
We go embezzle.
Yeah,
Let's use the right word.
Embezzle.
Yeah, that's right. It is embezzlement.
$10 million of that money, and we're gonna put it in your charity. We're then gonna take that 10 million and we're gonna funnel it into two dark money organizations. Those dark money organizations is then gonna take 8.5 million combined and put it into a PAC that Governor DeSantis runs, and he uses that money to defeat Amendment 3, which is the recreational marijuana amendment.
And that 1.5 went to the dark companies as they
That part.
paying they people.
That part.
Come on,
That part.
you can't do that. It's just that's
Legal.
You will go to prison.
Right.
The mayor in Chicago during the Obama Senate era.
Yeah.
It's the same
thing.
concept. You can't
Yeah.
It's the
illegality.
same concept, and we are just seeing. This is the reason, though, why it is so important for us to be civically engaged, keep our eyes and our ears open at all times. My opponent from the last run, Andrade, was the one who brought it to the table and shook it up. And I was like, you know what? A broke clock right twice a day. My dog Alex, if you watch it, you did that. I'm sorry how they did you, though. I read the article.
Take that ball and run.
Yeah, you know, you did that.
And so did Salzman.
Yeah, Salzman did.
Legit,
Now they
legit.
haven't been bringing
The heat.
They really have.
But also,
give 'em some respect.
DeSantis made discriminatory remarks
He
that
did.
apply to people who get discriminated against.
He did. He did.
So
he
he
did.
picked his adversaries.
Yeah, that happened. I want to do a kind of strong pivot because each of you have worked on a campaign, an electoral campaign in some type of capacity, for someone. You've knocked doors for someone before. You've helped do the strategy, and even those who were elected. A few y'all have actually done some of the groundwork to help them be more effective in their roles. I really want to start with Clarissa. Because you just came off of being one of the reasons why we so strongly flipped in this area and shifted points in some areas that are really scary. Can you talk about what it means to be part of a campaign team?
Ooh. A lot of hours. A lot
Yeah.
of work. Seeing that blue man. Oof. Don't have me up in here crying. But it's all about knocking doors. You cannot get around direct contact. You
Right.
cannot get around talking to the voter. I've learned that. I mean, I've known that for years, and I've watched it confirmed over and over and over again. It's important to when you're knocking, and this one of the reasons why I love knocking. And I trip when I'm in a position where I can't knock a lot, and I just figure out a way to steal away so I can knock. and I will go knock the whole day off.
She will. She'll call me.
Yep, I'm one of those weirdos.
Knocking.
But you're hearing. It's important to know the pulse of the community. And to me, one of the reasons why it turned blue was because Valmont was listening to the pulse of the community. She was listening to what was going on. She wasn't just, wanting your vote, asking for your vote. She really was listening. And that to me was key. So you have to knock. You've got to knock. You've got to knock. And you've got to have that data. You've got to make sure that you're putting the data in the system. I've been on campaigns where that didn't always happen, and you're kind of out there running around ragged and don't know what's going on. So it's important that you do knock and bring that data back. And we have to start. And my little issue I've had through the years is having that data and building on it. It seems like, and Derek could probably attest to this as well as Jonathan. It's like we're starting over every time. And we got to stop that madness somewhere, somehow. And while I don't have all the answers, I do have a couple solutions, but um, we do have to stop that, and we have to continue being engaged. So oftentimes after the election, and someone said this earlier, the real work actually begins after the election. I've been on various boards. I've done the Charter Review Committee Commission. I was vice chair for a number of years on the PEDC, which is the money arm of the city and the county. It is so important to be at those tables because that's where things are happening. When I realized the thing about this bill, it was late in the game because I was focused on the Valmont campaign, but it's like, were we protesting? Were we out there? Were we, speaking up about it? I mean, that shouldn't have passed, or it shouldn't have passed without a fight. And so and I'm talking to myself too, so I'm not just fussing at anybody. It's like we've got to stay engaged, and I know it gets hard. And one of the things, even on this Medicaid thing, it's so important that we have health care because we all need some mental um, care.
Yes.
Hear me when I tell you, none of what we do is easy. Anyone who tells you that they're fine all the time, every day, they're lying or in denial or a bit of both. You have to. I have a standing appointment with my therapist because
Yeah.
this work is not easy. And so and I say that because it is easy to get tired. It is easy to I can't get burned out and not take this anymore. So it's important that we have those conversations because we want to stay engaged. Because I had to step back a couple times for sanity's sake. Because I'm gonna leave it right there.
Hey, can I add on a little bit to the burnout part? Is that okay?
Yeah, come on.
I I have to stress this for those of us who are you know the average age of county Democratic leadership across rural communities and communities that are in red counties is 70. They're retired. They have the time to argue with you about why they don't need to use van because they've always used note cards to like go knock on doors and not record the data. You do not have the time to do that, nor do you have the time to burn out. And I know you guys are laughing because you felt this, right? So
Yes.
my advice here, and like to add on to what you're saying, data is not only important, but this is not just a conversation that's about Northern Florida. Our data is not great because you know we need generational change in these progressive organizations sometimes because sometimes doing something simple as cutting a turf on ban is like seen as this monumental task by folks who don't want to use Google Docs and stuff, and not to harp on it more than this, uh, those things, not the like tough conversations you have at the door with somebody who tells you, oh, like get off my property, did you not see the Trump sign or whatever? What's gonna burn you out is the people who keep claiming that they are on your side while also while also jumping in to try and get in the way of the work that you're doing. And so,
Yes.
Indeed.
to kind of piggyback on the point of what we're saying, my thing about issue-based campaigns and therapy and all that stuff is issue-based campaigns are a really good way to identify leaders. to
Mhm.
help make sure that we can find folks that want to run for school board. The secondary part to this conversation is you don't have to ask the okay of someone who claims, other than Derek Scott, who, by the way, shout out to him, who's like one of the greatest people that I've met across the country in the work that we've done with Outrun. Um, you don't have to ask for permission. Just do things and block people out if they need to. Um, I, uh, I, I, I just remember that there was, and I want to share this because it's like really important. There was a group organizing a rally in my hometown to try, with the 50-51 movement and stuff. I'm sure you're all familiar with this and
Uh-huh.
stuff. Yeah, it was all people over the age of 65. A Nazi, a profound Nazi, had shown up at the rallies before to try and harass people. Young people were being asked, young black, brown, BIPOC, and queer people were being asked to come at the rallies. We had warned this group of organizers a month in advance, before the April 5th rallies, that this guy was going to show up and harass people. And we told them, get marshals, look for security or what have you. And they they not only downplayed what happened beforehand, they didn't do anything to like set up security for the upcoming rally.
Oh,
So guess
no.
what happened? When we're not in these spaces where we have to take up space, when black and brown and LGBTQ plus folks are not in these spaces, who organizes? It's the folks who do not think that security is going to be a problem, because the guys that are in the alt right are not targeting older white Democratic chairs. They're going to target young black and brown and LGBTQ plus protesters. And this guy showed up on April 5th and he started attacking people, and he started
Wow.
shoving people and touching people and very horrible things. And I flipped the lid and I was like, you guys are wild. You guys, the fact that you don't want to do anything for security is going to put people in harm's way. They got so upset with the fact that I said that. They were like, we're going to come out with a statement calling you an angry. It's like, if you want to call me an angry brown person in front of the media, go ahead. And I'll say that too. And you're not going to win that fight because it's not 1992 anymore. It is not the 70s. It is not the 80s. It is an era where we need to be able to show people it's not okay to accept situations that are going to put our people in harm's way. And not only is it going to be a fight to be able to just get ourselves on the ballot and stuff, but to piggyback off of your point, it's not always going to be the Republicans that are going to get in the way, or
Mhm.
whomever opposes us, that are going to get in the way of our ability to win elections. There will always be people who claim that they are on your side, but unless they're out there on the doors with you and knocking and speaking with people and saying things that are productive, you know, sometimes you just have to ignore bad advice, and sometimes you have to ignore that bad advice by telling your therapist or whomever that happened, and take a deep breath and then go speak to the voters in your community and ignore the people that are telling you, I, God, I had a Afro Latino county legislator in Dutchess County, not that far from where I'm from, and I live in Brooklyn now. But the fact that we still have an era where white Democratic county committee members can go up to black candidates and tell them to cut their hair because it's not presentable,
Ooh.
while
Mhm.
this is the first time that
Ooh.
these can't no, but
Yeah.
the fact that these are first time candidates that are running to defeat Republicans, and this gentleman ended up ousting a Republican and then to become the first Afro Latino county legislator in his county, right? Take the energy that you have from these bad interactions, go to therapy, but also put it towards talking to your community so that not only can you prove people wrong,
Mhm.
but that you can legislate in a way that proves these people wrong about our communities. Because in many ways, one of the things that and I'll stop ranting after this, but in many rural communities across the country, we have a very definite choice here. Do we want to have Democratic candidates that say, "Screw our neighbors; they all voted for Trump; they deserve to suffer," or what have you? Or do we want Democratic candidates that say, "All of these things are affecting our communities. We all want to make sure that something happens, and I've known you longer than than this guy ran for president and stuff."
See,
And I think that that is a much more real perspective than dealing and kind of like relying on this like mostly white affluent, democratic, activist base that just does not understand our communities in many ways. But anyways, I'm sorry. I apologize, and I went off the rails there, but I don't know.
No, that's okay. That was some good points. I actually think that that brings us into probably getting into this Q&A a little bit more. Because I definitely want to hear from the folks that are, if you're viewing and you have questions, drop them in the comments. It's going to show up over here. Um, Make sure that you click on the original post because if it's on your friend's page, I'm not going to see that.
I mean, can I piggyback a little?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Two things. One, when you're thinking about running for office, one of the things I always say to people, don't be your first no.
Mm.
Okay. Second thing, as I'm doing these petitions, you might get in a day, you might talk to 150 people, and you might get 110 no's. It was a good day because you got 40 signed petitions. You always got to remember your goal and where you're trying to get to, and understand you're going to hear the crazy stuff. You're going to get the no's, you're going to get those things, but don't allow it to take you off of your objective.
Yeah.
And your why. Because at the end of the day, right now, what I'm doing, I need to get over 1 million signatures. I'm going to get there, but part of getting there are no's.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to happen. And that's okay. That's a part of it. So just don't be your first no.
Absolutely. Um, and I want to also just add in addition to this is that it's it's not failure if you don't necessarily make it the first time either. From the organization that we both come out of, there's a characteristic of a member that's called falling forward. And so someone who fails forward. So you learn from whatever mistakes you made along the way, but you're continuously moving forward this whole time, right? And so um pair that with the fact that the changes that we've seen in the county in Northwest Florida, especially, was stuff that I had to start working on back in 2014. It was stuff that my mother was working on back in the 80s and the 90s, and my grandfather, right, rest his soul, in the 60s and before. And so we continuously see how those generations of work that had to be put in, even though it feels like we've clocked backwards so much, a lot of the things that when you start working on it and you think about it a year from now, everything's going to be different. And a year from then, it's going to be different even more. And all of those people that you sat down with and we made phone calls and I sat on the block and I don't drink beer, but they were drinking beer. And we were hanging out so that I could talk about what liberation and freedom meant. And now they are some of our young leaders right now in this moment. Like those moments are important, right? We have to continue on. So I do want to let that lead us into the Q&A. I don't believe in microwave revolutions, so that means we got to start today, and then we see where we get in 5 years. Check back in with me. Okay. All right. Who has questions, comments, concerns? Let's get it. Somebody came with their questions. You have the perfect people to ask. Oh, let me add Mayor Walker back on so that here we go. You're on the stage. All
How you
right.
doing now?
All right, we're getting into this Q&A. Questions that anybody has. Okay.
Can I make a statement if you don't mind?
Oh, can you hear the person that was asking a question?
No, I couldn't hear.
Oh, okay. Can I Jack, can I get you to either go right over there and ask it? Okay. Or it doesn't matter, whatever is more comfortable.
So I had been talking to you beforehand. I grew up in the area, the white Southern Baptist. I 9/11. I was taking classes at TJC.
Mhm.
Matter of fact, I whipped into that parking lot because I was running late, and I hear a plane had just crashed into a building in New York, and I'm going, "These pilots, they need to get together." Got barely even started on the test, we got pulled out, and I felt this pull, like I gotta answer this. When I found out, it rocked my world. and like I really wanted to answer the call of my country. I come back to Pensacola 20 years later with a retirement and a family wanting to come back. This is not the Pensacola I left.
Mhm.
It is not. And the things that I am seeing, I don't think three-quarters of the Democrats or Republicans see it. We are seeing lies, audacious lies, not normal politicians. If you trim this definition up and frame it like this, then it's technically, we're seeing audacious lies. And I am seeing cowardice. We need to meet audacious with audacious. And I am driven just like I was after 9/11 to answer the call. And I want to see more of it. Like I really do. I have a fire and I want to see more of it. And I want to know what I can do to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody want to hop right into what would be the first step?
I was going to say, and I appreciate that question because I always tell people, especially in the organizing space, to me, my opinion, the biggest form of advocacy anyone can take in organizing is running for office.
Yeah.
If you're able to organize, like, don't be your first note, organize your mind to have that strategic plan. I always start with reading that candidate handbook. You have to know the rules of what you can do. Knowing the rules of what you can do also lets you know the exception. What can you, what, or knowing the rules of what you can do, but also the aspect of what you cannot do. When you know those two aspects, that's where you learn the exceptions of how you get your workarounds, how things that don't go the scandal route of corruption and embezzlement, things that are legalities and how uh, groups lobby for issues, because that's what we're doing. We're lobbying the community. We're not
That's right.
lobbying the banks and the corporations who are being greedy in a sense that causes the community to be where we are. So the things that you're identifying in Pensacola area since coming back. And so I understand that sense.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead, Mayor
uh,
Walker.
I'll also be a subject matter expert. I mean, if there's things that you're passionate about, like study that like it's the Bible, no, quote unquote, and understand that like for every problem you got to have a solution. And if you don't have a solution, have something that somebody around you that knows that. But I think that's important. But then if that fire you have inside of you to make change to fix where you rest your head at, it got to start by where you rest your head at, exactly what it means. I mean, federal government doesn't know about Pensacola, doesn't know about Aliquippa, doesn't know about these places in Brooklyn and New York and all these things. It doesn't know about these places. The only way they found out about these places because you're in that space and you matter. There's a quote my dad used to say, "Who do you fear most? The man whispering in Caesar's ear or Caesar?" I don't fear Caesar. He doesn't know me. But that person whispered in his ear will point you out. And now his gaze is on you. Now he knows who you are. Now he or she knows who you are. So, be unapologetic about what you do and how you do it, but be a subject matter expert. No, you don't have to have all the answers, but you have to have an understanding of what. When somebody say, "Why are you running?" Well, I just got so many things I want. No, they want to hear something specifically that points to them. Every conversation is going to be different when you do run for office. Every conversation will be different based on the needs of the people that you're talking to. Some kids might be about the kids riding their bikes without a helmet. Somebody might be the coon taking up somebody's trash. It just depends on what's the soup of the day and who you're talking to. And you got to be a chameleon. You got to be able to adapt to those situations because if you don't answer something properly, remember, one person's connected to 10, and they connected to 10, and they connected to 10. And then that's where that's where things happen. But I would just say be a subject matter expert. And expert doesn't mean you have to know all the answers, but just know the resources, where you find it, what you felt that worked other places. But don't be afraid. Like don't lose that fire because people like you are how the world changes. Those are the people who get in front of people and make things happen.
Can I offer something here?
Yes.
So I know we're encouraging folks to get out there, show up, run for something, run for positions. I also want to say there's other things we can do for each other, especially as marginalized people.
Mhm.
So I understand what my privileges are. I think that, and what I mean by that is I understand that I may have some privileges another minority or marginalized person may not have. And there are people that won't speak to me just because of who I am, right? Just because I'm LGBTQ. And so I really rely on my allies to help bridge the gap, right? To have conversations. So when I have people say things to me that are uninformed about, say, Black Lives Matter, I'm going to give them some information that they may not be getting because they're only watching one news source. So I think it's really important also as marginalized people, we can show up for each other even outside of running for a position because supporting our other marginalized community can only come back to help all of us, right? So in addition to running, think about having conversations outside of your own like, you know, of course I can talk all day long about LGBTQ issues, but if I can have a conversation with somebody that's ill-informed about other marginalized groups of people, I need, it's my duty to do that because we all have the things that we struggle with as communities. So I think it's really important for us to know about each other, understand our struggles, and understand what that marginalized group needs as support so that we can communicate that to people that may not even give them the time of day.
Thank you. Um, Clarissa, you had something you were gonna say?
Yeah, I was just going to say another way of being involved is, plugging into uh, what's going on locally, city council meetings, uh, county commission meetings, so that the things that you don't like that you're seeing or the direction it's going in, that you speak up about why something that might be voting on something they're voting on that we shouldn't go in that direction. Because you can be that voice that makes them change. Um, I would often speak before I've spoken before every local thing here, and I've actually had some things change that very night. They're like, "Oh wait, never thought about that like that. This okay? Let's keep it this way, or go back to what we were doing." So it's important to go out and speak up.
Yeah. Um, and the last thing I'm gonna say before I ask somebody else, bring some more questions, is that heeding the call sometimes isn't maybe necessarily running for office, which was why it was so important to me to bring like Clarissa and Jonathan and Jamil in too. It's being a part of the team to get it done. One thing that we did is we let me help you understand real quick. Hold on, let me breathe. I'm just kidding. But it really is like the biggest initiatives I think in my life that we have accomplished so far has been because of the teamwork that we jumped in to do. There is a sitting city councilwoman that we hopped directly into action behind. That has secured and been in her spot, but I really believe that that was one of some of my first areas of like hopping in and saying this is where I'm really good and I can do this. I think some of my best work has been just writing words for other people
Right.
to be able to deliver. And so it is important for us to also know that just because you're not the face of the thing sometimes, it is being part of that body to really move
Yeah.
that vehicle.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to say one thing to kind of piggyback on that, because in 2020, I think in the August of 2024, when Joe Biden like dropped out of the presidential race
Mhm.
and stuff like that, somehow Outrun got convoluted into starting Rural Americans for Harris, and this little
Oh
500,
yes, I
it's not a
remember that.
huge group and stuff, and but we ended up doing an event with Jennifer Gardner and a bunch of other
Mhm.
like high level, and literally all we're doing is just helping people run for school board and town board and stuff, and it's very telling. And also, to the question about energy and stuff, I just want to say this: like, you don't have to do something massive for your impact to be massive. You
Yes,
don't have to be some huge level PAC donor, some like, billionaire that I meet, you meet with those people in Manhattan all the time and stuff like that. They don't care about like, oh, look at how much money this person raised. They just want something authentic that makes it easier for people to be able to run for office. It should not be a labyrinth step to get a 20-something-year-old to be able to run for city council. It should not be very difficult to do that, and that's why we take up the space. So I'm gonna post my email, and I'd love for you to send my email to the person. I'd love to invite them to get on if they want to run for office. I'd love to get them involved in Outrun or some of the other organizations that we work with. And I think the last thing, because I've been getting knocked on this a lot lately, is when we talk about like outrunning and young people and youth is an energy. It's not a number. And so when we talk about like people running for office and stuff like that and ending the gerontocracy or what have you, it's
Yeah.
making sure that we can stand up to people like Chuck Schumer. It's making sure that James Carville doesn't have a last say in telling who can or cannot run for office. It's making sure that we have a voice in saying that instead of just saying that like the Democratic Party needs to kind of just play dead for the next 4 years. And I'm sorry. Thank you.
No, you're good. JD is yet again gonna kill me because they didn't move his microphone stand.
My
It's
goodness.
okay because we have a Dondre Wise.
Hey.
D Wise, let's go.
But he
Uh,
brings up an important point though. We need young people.
yes.
I love older people. I do, but it's time for them to say.
What I said to you this morning? What I
I
said
mean,
to you this
really.
morning?
Now, now,
I ain't gonna say that no. Um, well,
respectfully, you know,
was there some questions on this side of the room? Yes. Be careful.
I was gonna like one of the big detractors I feel like is like money for like campaign funding, like
Mhm.
especially like as like a college student, like or
Yeah.
and I was wondering like what's like the best way you guys would recommend for like building funds to campaign?
Okay, that is a great, great question.
it's a wonderful question.
Are you first? Go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, please, please, please. I want
Oh,
to hear from you. Go ahead.
so you've got to schedule and make time every day to raise money. You've got to call everybody. And one of the hardest things for anyone, I believe, running for office, one of the first things that hump to get over is asking people for money. And you've got to ask everybody, every family member, friend. And I mean, you can always, something I did, you can go online to other candidates and look at who's given and just call them. I mean, those are usually your yeses because they've given before. And it does add up. So it really is about making those phone calls. You gotta call.
Yeah.
You gotta do that.
I also remember when we would have conversations with people around them running. A lot of the people who were running parties or running campaigns, they would tell us this is a really great tool because you just have like a bunch of people that send in your contacts. Then you just call them people in your contacts and be like, hey, so I'm running. I know you ain't got a lot of money, but like $5 is fine.
Yeah.
$10 is fine. And if you call everybody, eventually, because once again we go back to our organizing math, the rule of halves. If I call everybody in here, and I'll just throw out a random. I'll just throw out a random number. If I have 500 people in my contacts, 250 people are gonna be like, oh man, that's great. I'm gonna support you. And 125 of those people are actually gonna give you money. And if you have 125 people that give you $5 to $10,
There you go.
that's a nice amount of money
And
to
don't
start
forget,
out with.
look, and don't forget the follow up because
That.
folks like me, life be lifing, and I may have said I was going to give and really meant it, but hadn't. Now you make the phone call, the actual phone call the first time, but there's nothing wrong with a reminder text or email. A reminder, not the initial ask. You gotta actually do the one-on-one ask
Yeah.
because no one gives. I'm Now, if I really want to talk about something, I'm so tired of all these text messages and emails. I actually feel disrespected because I'm like, who has time for all of these? I mean, we'll get like 20 in one day. I mean, I know everybody in here.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's so bad.
It's so bad.
And I've started
Like,
replying like you don't care.
Act blue. Stop asking me for
I
$20 because Donald Trump wants to defund Planned Parenthood.
oh my
That's an actual text I
gosh.
received
That's
Me saying.
today.
uh, I just can I it's like it's and this is like maybe just a very like New York City fundraising thing, but it is
uh-huh.
like nothing makes me more livid than like these guys that scoff and these like people who are like, oh, I'm gonna be an amazing councilman now. I want to run for New York City Council. Paulo, I know I talk crap about your group and the people that you're helping run for office in rural America and that they don't matter and stuff, but now you have to give me money. And I'm like, what? No, that's not how
Wow.
it works.
And
No, but
don't.
that's a reality. And I just feel like in the work and to kind of talk about giving and stuff like that. You know, Outrun has a giving circle. I fundraise every Friday for like young, diverse, rural candidates and stuff. The thing that sucks about Florida is your fee, having to pay a fee to run for office. I know that that's
Yeah.
like a thing that like has been brought up to me again. I think that should be unconstitutional. It's very disenfranchising and it makes it very difficult for people to run for office. Most of the money that we raised last time with our partners in Florida went directly to pay for fees for people to run for office. It did not go to helping the candidates, and it sucks because I do some of these places like Okaloosa County and stuff like that. Some of these mosquito district elections or what have you. You know, a $200 to $300 injection. That's a winning campaign right there and stuff. And
Yeah.
so my best bet is other than just putting your candidate list together. You know, we I think, and I'll share this with you, Hale, the template that we did when we did Outrun Florida. It has links to different national level organizations that are willing to endorse candidates and stuff like that. Some of them do
Oh
have
yes, we need
restrictions.
that.
Yeah, yeah, and we can go from there. But I think the one thing that's like really important with fundraising is keeping your head cool about understanding that these folks receive these calls all the time, and not thinking that you're too much for asking. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
are asking somebody that it has no problem writing a like $5,000 check or maxing out to a candidate, they're gonna listen to you if you're gonna call them and you're gonna tell them why they should invest in you. And if they invest in you, you don't know, right? But they might, and that's what matters.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Don't. I mean, the system truly, and this is what I found out from running. The system is set up for people who, um, already have their pockets lined, already have all of these to be the
Yep.
ones to run for office. We are in a position where we have to push back against that. It's it's not fair. And it is a sacrifice. I know that I myself took a huge sacrifice of not being able to work to run for office. Thankfully, I'm like the world's greatest DJ, so that helped pay some
Right.
bills. But everybody isn't the world's greatest DJ. No, but seriously. So also, I just want like don't get discouraged by no's. And don't look
Mhm.
at a number and say, "Oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this because this is what my plan calls for with money." I ran a damn good grassroots campaign where my best friend was my treasurer, um, and we did the damn thing, and everybody in the community was involved, and it was small donors. Gay Valamont raised money off of small donors. It was people.
Yeah.
What the average was $35, $33 from people. It's things like that. And I do also want to say because Paulo already said something about it, which is the other places where you can get endorsements from. Think of places that you would never think of. It was I want to say I got a whole bunch of donations. Oh, because I'm a social worker. So the National Association for Social Workers endorsed me because I was social worker of the freaking year. And so they endorsed me, and then everybody was like, "Oh yeah, social workers running for office. Let's go ahead and donate." No matter what their party was. That was one of my some of my biggest donors. So it is important to think of all of the people that you also are like attached to and where you can look for endorsements at, if you're thinking about getting into the money. But definitely, like I want to again, it's going to be small donors and community that really is going to get the goose going. All right, I think we have time for like one more question. Yeah, JD, next time we need a mic to be just pushing over there. Oh, great question. Anybody in particular want to
Uh,
start?
I'm sorry, could you, because we couldn't hear it.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
If someone is wanting to run
Oh,
for
we,
office, what is the best way to kind of get the ball rolling, like build a team, like someone who's never done that before?
And I'll kind of start it off. And to repeat the question for what's the best way to kind of build a team and start out a campaign. And one thing, in addition to reading that candidate handbook, to understand that process, the people that you're going to have closest around you need to know those rules in and out, to one, hold you accountable, and to two, give that trajectory of how you're going to strategic plan. In that, um, I believe Hale said it earlier. Um, not being afraid to prop up, and this is not just your team but the community, selecting who you're going to prop up, and everybody support them regardless of what it looks like. Not,
yeah.
oh, you're too ambitious, oh, that's a lofty goal of yours. It's, this is the candidate, we're going to lift them up. So in choosing that team around you, letting people who do what they naturally do it. If you have somebody who's great with social media and flyers and communications, you're not going to put them in the spaces that have them most engaged with people if they're intro if they're if they are an introvert. You're more extroverted. Like, you have to know your talent and the people who want to be in spaces, and also create spaces, new spaces, things that you wouldn't think. You're creating, we have the ability to create whatever we think. And if it's a role in your campaign, be that, and be that energy. And I know it's cliche, but be that change of anything that is imaginable is still possible. It's just putting in the metrics and the plan to achieve it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Campaign. Deadline, especially
Oh,
that's really where you want to start. And of course, knowing what you want to run for and what that takes. So, for example, he was just talking earlier about the fee that has to be paid. Well, there's a way around that fee, and it's competition. And so, depending on what you're running for, is the amount of petitions you might need, and then going after those. And so, and talk to people that have either run or are in office to find out what they did and some of their best practices.
Yep. It's always gonna be knocking on those doors. Yeah, did anybody from our digital space have wanna kind of add to that last sentiment around building a team, like where to start?
honestly, Mayor Walker, you want to go first? Because I'm still circulating my, or I don't know if you have any. No,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
No, I just, like you said, like I said, you build a team that is, like you said, already been spoken. They're not afraid to tell you no, but they also understand the process, understand the rule. Like I know here, they have a a third class city handbook for studied that before I started running too, to understand what I could and couldn't do, and what the rules of a mayor, what the rules of school board, what the rules of council, what they can and cannot do, how can they affect change. And then that, once you understand that, your team understands that. It always goes back to knocking on doors, man. I told you I've been in office for 4 terms, and every time I ran, I knocked on doors every time. 5,100 households, 4.4 square miles, 192 roads, and 52 alleys, 9,453 people. I spend like almost 90 days touching them. Even the ones that told me no, I still may circle back around, because remember, your community changes all the time. So that no, the first time, and they come back around, oh, I heard about you, I asked about you. Oh, okay, yeah. So tell me about yourself. So just by you circling back, one, it lets them know that you really want their vote, but two, you're face to face with most of the people you're dealing with. You're going to answer questions, and don't assume that you know everything. I will say that. Don't say just fly off the handle with an answer, because they're going to fact check you. Hey, I'll get back to you that, and then get back, inspect what you expect, get back to somebody when you tell you're gonna get back to them. I came back to houses 2 or 3 times to get the answer and give them the answer that they needed, just so they understood that I knew, and I was gonna take the time to find the right answer and give it to them. So that bodes well for you, and as well with you whenever you do those things and you committed to something that they asked you, and they said, well, look, if he came back for this, he's probably going to be a good counselor, good school board, good mayor, good he's going to be a good person that's going to get back to his residents in a timely manner. I still, to this day, if you call my cell phone, everybody has it. If I say I'm going to call you back, I'm going to call you back. I usually say give me 24 hours, depending on the severity of the call, but I try to get back to everybody that calls me. And if I can't, I got a twin brother who's president of the council who will also get back. So if I'm going one way, he's going another. We try to hit it in the middle. But yeah, what's already been said is a lot of what you need to know and understand.
I just want to, and it's going to be a little elongated, but it's a point that I want to talk about. My hometown. I split my time between Brooklyn and this little town called Elmira, where I grew up in upstate New York. And all of the young people, it was a pretty stark city council meeting where all of these young people showed up in opposition to a camping ban, which is basically a ban on street homelessness, right? And something that created a predatory situation for unhoused people in this community. The guy passing this camping ban was this like Harvard educated, very liberal, very, says on paper, progressive pastor, what have you. The guy thought he understood when I first started going back home, splitting my time to go work for the Harris campaign in swing states and stuff like that. My hometown's only a mile away from Pennsylvania. This guy tried to explain local politics to me in a way that seemed like there were limitations to the things that you could do. So long story short, this camping ban passes. I start working with this group of people who want to advocate for the unhoused, right? We want to repeal this camping ban. The town next to my hometown, which has an all Republican town council, uh, actually, we wrote a campaign to like try and get them not to pass the ban on homelessness, and it worked. And now we have it on good authority that if Republicans don't want a camping ban or want to criminalize the unhoused, why would a liberal Democrat want to do that, right? Point being here, do not let people limit your ideas of what you think is possible for your municipality. Take a piece of paper, write down the things that you see in your community that you want to change. Because oftentimes, while you may not have the answer right then and there, and don't act like you will have the answer, you will be able to develop an answer and build it into a platform of how to run for office. And that takes being able to have a team of folks who are able to help you. And also, you know, make sure that if you feel like you're being backed into a corner where you have to take positions for the sake of placating someone else's political goals, that you understand the benefit of what you are doing to benefit your career and your campaign, right? Because a lot of the stuff, and I've been lobbying up in Albany for a bunch of years now. I've passed a bunch of budgets and stuff. Um, we all have permanent interests. We all don't have permanent friends. But when we are able to build coalitions to make things happen, that brings progress and it makes you look not just professional, but accomplished in a way that a lot of local elected officials cannot be seen this way. And when you're able to kind of like come forth with an actual platform of the things that you want to do, we, 75% of the time, our candidates have won despite being 19 years old or 20 or what have you. And that dynamic coupled with using van and knowing your win number and stuff changes upends local politics in a way that's healthy and helpful. So my first thing would be is just strip all limitations of politics out of your mind and write down on a piece of paper what you think needs to change in your community for it to be better. And how you, not even how you think that needs to happen, but what you think needs to change. And then base your research on that and find a team of folks who agree with you. And that's how I built a lot of campaign teams across the country. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Uh Thank you so much. We are so way over time. If you're watching from WPMN, make sure you stay tuned because the next stream is gonna be from the Chop Up podcast. Hey y'all, we're in a radio station. Of course it's somebody after me, right? And so I want to first give a round of applause to all of our panelists, Paula for helping me moderate tonight. This was wonderful. And thank you so much to our studio audience who came in. Please remember that we do have some gifts right outside the door, so feel free. Sponsored by Overflow Health Alliance. Thank you, Outrun Coalition. Thank you to Black Voters Matter and American Humanities Mediation Services. We are here. I am Hale of Life is Hale. We will be back actually May 28th at 7 p.m. Central doing a Civic Power 101. And I will be telling y'all about how me and Jamil Davis and the rest of the Pensacola Dream Defenders built a whole lot of power right here on the Gulf Coast. So y'all stay tuned. That link will be dropping on the Life is Hell website. We are doing this all summer long, y'all. We're getting educated. We're signing up to run for office. We're signing up to be part of teams. We're doing the damn thing. All right. So and we're signing
Signing
petitions. Make
petitions,
sure you sign the
please.
petition. So that's wrapping up. We are out. Thank you again, everybody, especially with us going over time. I appreciate y'all and Godspeed.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.
Thank you for the opportunity, Miss Hale. Y'all be blessed.
You too.
Yeah. Hey, thank you
All
again.
right.
Well, let's catch up at some point soon.